Good morning. I'm Dave Crouch. This is the Chamber's Public Affairs Roundtable, presented every fourth Monday of the month at 7:30 in the morning by the Williamson County Chamber of Commerce. We're glad to have you with us, and we look forward to having our audience ask questions toward the end of the program. So be thinking about what you would like to ask. We're especially indebted, and I want to hasten to thank Comcast Channel 3, which is the county's public TV station, cable TV station. Newt Danley and his crew for televising this every month. He informed me this morning that we are now on the World Wide Web streaming this morning for the first time. And so if you are somewhere out of reach of Comcast Channel 3, you can now watch it on wctv.net. And so that's an exciting new development here for the county. My guests this morning are Mayor Rogers Anderson, our county mayor, and Dr. Mike Looney, our superintendent of schools here in Williamson County. And our subjects is the capital improvements that the county funded in their budget recently, and the projects that the county school system has funded and you'll be seeing more and more of as time goes on this year. And we'll start off with some of the slides that Mayor Anderson presented week before last in his State of the County address at the Chamber's luncheon. And what he has done is given us a rundown of everything going on in the county, but the reason for us using these again is because I like to ask questions and dig in a little deeper than what he was able to in that short presentation at the Chamber luncheon. We'll start off this morning with the county budget, Mayor, and let you give us a little bit of a synopsis of how that developed this year and where we ended up.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this. And I guess a special thanks should go out to Tommy Little, who chaired the Budget Committee this year. He's sitting in the audience, and Steve Smith, also there's some other county commissioners, because without their votes, there's 24 county commissioners, and without the votes of the county commissioners, none of the things that we do is possible, and I'm sure Dr. Looney would agree with that also. They're the funding agent for the things. This year's budget, 2014-15, started on July the 1st, and it was significant in a lot of ways. The first thing, if you will look on the chart, is that the total budget this year is $440,951. That's up about $6 million over what the last year's budget was, and most of that is from the growth internally of people coming to our communities. You will also see a slide that shows that for the first time in modern history, and if you go to the third column, you'll see a percentage slide that 65% of the operating budget goes back to public education. And I see Mayor Betsy Crossley in the audience, and I know that she's tickled to death with that because Brentwood continues to grow as Franklin and all of our surrounding cities that are here. And I guess the significance of 65%, for many years, we've been hovering around the high 50s, the low 60s, and it is indicative of all the students and the growth that's occurring in our area. But at the same time, on the far right-hand column, Dave, it shows the reduction of county government, which is a constant push to keep the taxes low and put the money where it needs to be. Now, that's not to say that we don't have other needs, because that 34.78 represents all the other funding that goes to your law enforcement community, your judicial systems, the running of the administrative complexes, just about everything else in county government falls in that category of 34, nearly 35%. So I'll let Mike, if you don't mind, I'll shift over anywhere you want to go, but I'm sure he's got some comments on that budget. It's never enough, but we argue that all the time.
It's a good argument, though. I would concur with the mayor. Hats off to the county commission for doing their due diligence and for managing the limited resources they have, but also continuing to make schools a priority. The school district continues to grow significantly. This year alone, we're going to grow by 1,100 students or so. We actually think that our original prediction is going to be a little bit low. An example of that is Scales Elementary School. There's not any growth as far as new construction happening in the Scales community, but we've grown by 90 students more than what we expected. And so we've been analyzing that data, and those new students are coming from 3 different sources. One of them is just housing churn, where mature families move out to smaller residences or move away. And then young families with school-age children are moving in.
Right.
We've had a significant enrollment increase of private school students coming to the district. And then we do have families that are just moving in, and in some cases actually moving in with relatives in order to go to our school system. So it's been an interesting development. That's going to continue to push the boundaries as it relates to using the resources that we have available to us. Our budget this year is going to be about $273 million. It's a sizable portion, obviously, of the county budget. And our school board has, I think, done a marvelous job of making sure that the staff and I put forward a budget proposal that focuses on boys and girls and learning first. And
How much of the, and I'll ask you first, Dr. Looney, but how much of your budget is operating expenses versus new capital improvements, capital expenditures?
Well, there's 2 different pots of capital expenditures. So the operating budget, which is what we're talking about, $4 million of that budget is allocated specifically for capital projects. There is a separate budget that the county commission approves, and that's specifically for new construction. And we have a sizable, construction fund this year because we're going to be building 3 schools in the Nolensville area. Just to deal with the Nolensville growth, we're looking for property in the Spring Hill community.
Right.
And we have a number of other projects. The county commission and the school board have collaborated for, Rogers, I don't know, maybe 10 years in an attempt to build or to focus more on the arts and get our facilities compatible with other school communities that really put a lot of emphasis on the arts. Right. And we're blessed to be able to add theaters in many of our schools this year. It's something the school board and the county commission have been collaborating on for a number of years. So lots of good things happening in Williamson County in general, but the reality of it is we're a growing school community.
Right.
And I don't see that changing anywhere in the near future. And I know Rogers, you have some forecast of the population growth that's going to happen just in the whole community, but obviously that has a ripple effect on schools. And so I suspect we'll continue to wrestle about the budget a little bit to try to meet the needs of the boys and girls of Williamson County.
Right.
Dave,
Mayor?
if I could follow up, I would agree with Dr. Looney in that the school board is charged, and I see Pat Anderson here, who's the chair of the commission, Sherry Hammond, she's here also, that they put all these budgets, they put all their data together, and we're going to differ on the number side. We'll differ on the program side on some issues, but by and large, the school board's charged with developing, keeping the #1 school system, or become the #1 school system in public education in the state of Tennessee. That's a lofty goal that Dr. Looney and the school board have worked very tirelessly to try to get. Now, are we going to all agree on everything? Absolutely not.
Right.
The buzzword right now is Common Core. I know very little about Common Core, but I understand that there are lots of issues that are going on in public schools other than that one item.
Right.
When you look at the budget numbers, though, I think if I can get out into the weeds a little and ask Mike to help me here, all throughout the state of Tennessee, there's called a BEP. That's a formula for receiving monies back into your school systems by virtue of through your counties.
Right.
The BEP program breaks down the funding component that tells Dr. Looney and his financial department how much money they're going to get back. Now, on the surface, that's pretty simple.
Right.
But when you dig down into those weeds, there's factors in there that the average business, and I guess the only one in the audience out there today that would understand this might be Don Webb and and Boland, to explain Medicare versus the concept of how much the bill is and how much you actually pay. But BEP's almost got that way.
Right.
And I'm going to explain for an example. In our system that we have here, we have over 300 teachers that we pay 100% of the bill on. Now, on the surface, that doesn't mean much, because you would think,
Okay.
well, you should be paying for all of them. But let's break this thing down. The BEP formula allows you payment that comes into the sales tax. You go out to the mall area or any place here locally, all that money goes either to the city of record, if it's in
Right.
Franklin or Brentwood. That's how Brentwood and Franklin maintain an awful lot of their financial piece, is that sales tax dollar. So just assume that the city of Franklin and Brentwood, or wherever it's generated, they get half of the sales tax.
Okay.
And not quite half, but it's a round number, and the rest of it goes to the state of Tennessee, and they allocate it. Well, you would think you'd get your money back that you sent up to Nashville, or for that matter, even to Washington. And by the way, the feds send us 2% of this total $440 million. We got 2% of that money from the federal government.
Goodness.
About 22% of that's from the state, and the rest of it's your local tax dollars. So you need to understand that your local people, whether it's the mayor, county commissioner, school board, city or county, you better know who those men and women are, because they're controlling the lion's share of the money that's being spent here in the local dollars. I don't know what the percentage is for the cities. There's people here that could tell you that.
Yeah.
But it's probably proportionally about the same. So go back to the BEP formula.
Okay.
Dr. Looney's average salary is probably in the neighborhood of $55,000.
That's right.
We're paid on a reimbursement model from the state of Tennessee at about $38,000 per teacher. So when they go to calculate all these teachers, they use this formula, and that's a statewide average formula from Mountain Home to Memphis.
Right.
And it's about $39,000. That would be great if we got that.
Yes, it would.
So you would expect you'd be reimbursed. Dr. Looney's got about 2,200 teachers.
That's right.
About 2,200 teachers. 300 of them we're paying at 100%, because the education and the school board have said we want better teachers, better quality, better outcomes.
Right.
And so when you do a elementary school and it's 1 to 20, as opposed to the payback at the state of 1 to 25,
Right.
every 5 little kids soon adds up. And when you get to 100, you got a teacher. You've got 100 students when you got a teacher at one extra teacher. Now, I'm going to get out from this, but I want you to understand it.
I just want to let the audience know that there's going to be a test on this when we get through, and
Well, I think sometimes, Dave, that Dr. Looney understands this. The county commissioner, school board, the general public sometimes doesn't realize when they're reimbursing you on your dollars, it's not $38,000.
right.
Because then you've got a formula. How well can you pay your taxes? How does your area grow? How does the community look at taxes, and how do they look at all this? At the end of the day, we get 65% of the $38,000. Well, the teachers don't want they want to be paid, and they should be paid. So when you start putting all this funny math to it,
Right.
it reminds you of Medicare, the federal government. And I mean, I'm amazed at this, through the efforts of Tommy and all the county commissioners that have been here, how we're able to juggle and move that pea underneath that shell and make the numbers work. And Dr. Looney's got the same issues over here. And then we've got this issue called health insurance. We've got all the other things that go into making up this total budget of $440 million. So it's a sizable number that the locals are paying.
$440 million is a lot of money, and I just remember from building a house and paying the expenses of building that house, how many things go into a few $1,000s, and if you're spending $440 million equitably and efficiently, it takes a lot of work to oversee that and a lot of people to make sure all those dollars get spent correctly. So thank you to our county commission, Tommy, and for our school board for overseeing that. It's not an easy job, and I know that from some service I've had in the past, and we appreciate the stewardship there that goes into that. The next slide, I'm going to move on, Rogers.
Please.
And it has a little bit different number, and without getting into the weeds too much here, there's a difference in the numbers here, 73%, and how does that work?
All right, I'll make this one quick. We said that it was 65-35, but when we build schools,
Is this new math?
yeah, it's new math.
Okay,
When we build schools, somebody has to pay the debt.
right.
Well, it's not schools. That falls back on the shoulders of the county commissioners. So the difference between 35 and 27, that percentage,
Okay,
we're paying the school debt out of the 35. So we're really operating all other county services on 27%.
okay, and letting Dr. Looney have the other 73.
Well, he doesn't get all that. The 65 he gets. The 73, we're paying a percentage on that. That's just like paying your house note, the car note.
Right.
Somebody's got to pay the bills, and so the county commission is charged for that. So it's a nice slide to show that we're spending 8% of the county side of the money towards the school side of paying for those school buildings.
Building those new schools.
I think there's an important point to make in that slide, though, and that is, with all the growth that we're experiencing, the thousands of new families that are moving to the community, the reality of it is that the new families don't pay for the growth that's associated with them coming.
Right.
So I think that slide speaks to that. You know, when a new home is built, it doesn't mean that there is an equitable amount of additional resources coming to the county to operate because of that new construction.
Right. As much as we would like all the impact fees and privilege taxes that are associated with new construction to pay for all this, it still isn't enough.
But looking at it again, Dr. Looney could probably tell you what it costs to educate every kid in Williamson County.
$8,400 per student.
And what's the statewide average?
We're about $600 below the state average, so I don't know off the top of my head, but we average about $600 to $900 per student difference.
Right.
And my point, Dave, in asking that is that shows the resilience of good management, the school board and the county commission, because in the business world that I came from, that you're still there, you're getting a super bang for the buck.
Oh, incredible.
On your tax dollars. And in the name of at the end of the day, on the business world, if you're getting a superior value, good outcome at low cost, that's a winner.
I'm a super supporter of our public school system in this county. It's amazing, and as one that's experienced various types of schools, I just can't say enough about the experience my kids are having right now at Centennial High, and as well as the Franklin Special School District system. So we appreciate all you do there. Let's move on to some of the capital budget projects that are going on in the county. First of all, Rogers, and tell us about the new public safety building that you told us about last week.
About 5 years ago, 4 years plus, in 2010, we had put together the year before that about 45 to 50 people to talk about public safety all throughout Williamson County. Cities, counties, sheriff, schools, state, FEMA, TEMA, put them all in a room out to Ag Park. They met on a monthly basis over a 2-year window, trying to develop a new model for public safety in Williamson County. Why is that important? We couldn't exist in the volunteer side without the support of the Brentwoods and the Franklins and the Nolansvilles and the Fairviews for all of our citizens.
Right.
If you live in the unincorporated area, you do not have paid firemen and women. You have volunteers that work out in our community. We depend 100% on the efforts of these men and women. And without mutual aid agreements, working with our cities, that the cities would respond when there's need, we would have a problem.
Right.
But there may have been a better model. And so we put all these men and women together and said, help us figure this out.
Mhm.
At the end of this 2-year period in 2010, we had this massive flood that came through Middle Tennessee.
Right.
We discovered that we weren't as prepared as we needed to be. You hate to admit that, but we weren't. We had the manpower and the woman power, but we had limited access to equipment and we had a lousy facility. The facility was in the basement of this building and it was flooding. We had maintenance guys coming over here pumping out water just about as quick as it was going in, around the clock. And that was concerning to a lot of us.
Mhm.
And so out of that, the first thing they recommended, you needed a facility that would withstand the nature's, the power of nature, wind, storms, tornadoes,
Right.
floods. And so there was a piece of property we owned over next to the jail. It was about 5 acres, and out of that came a structure. The vast majority of the county commissioners supported this. We had some rhetoric from some of the county commissioners. They supported it. They just didn't want to pay for it. I don't know how to do things that way.
Right.
And so we hear that all the time, and just lay it out there on the line. You can't have things if you don't pay for them. Out of that came this $20 million structure. It is heavily laced, will be heavily laced with IT. It'll be a training ground, a facility so that all people then in the public safety arena, city, counties, it'll be an area that when we have a major storm that we can go and hunker down to protect our community, protect our people. And
Right.
what we have learned, unfortunately, as Dr. Looney knows, that when a major city has a tornado or an awful act of God that comes through and levels a building, levels your city or levels your communities, you're in total chaos. And there's plenty of cities all around the Tennessee area, Alabama, Missouri, and when healthcare and your government services are leveled and you can't provide that first line of defense of safety and healthcare, you are really hurting as a community. So this is the efforts of nearly 5 years, and it is I think the dirt has actually been started on this thing, that push now. So hopefully in about a year and a half, out of this will come a new safety building that all of our operations, emergency management, ambulances, the whole gamut for Williamson County, and we will work tighter and closer with our cities.
Now, there are some other buildings involved in that.
Yeah, well, this is a
discussion.
little different. Again, this is a new building. It's called the LoJack Building. It's on Downs Boulevard, and at 5 points in Franklin, it's where there's the volunteers. The rescue squad is located along with the ambulances, and that lease has run its gamut. They need to be out of there. We're taking this building. We are very thankful to the LoJack Corporation about working with us to convert that over to a new fire public safety station there on Downs Boulevard, which will help our ambulance base. If I can throw in another adjective here, or a topic, we don't think a lot about our ambulances, and I'm not real sure exactly how many we have. Maybe somebody could throw up a number back there to me. I think we've got 12 or 15 ambulances in our county, and they serve all points of our county except Spring Hill. and we'd like to have the Spring Hill folks. I think you get better first respondents from Williamson Medical Center and the ambulances over there, but you got to have a place to house them, and they're
Right.
roaming throughout the area.
Yep.
So this is the next location. Again, it's about public safety.
The,
And we're doing the same thing down at Macklemore and Paytonsville Road. We purchased a piece of property. We'll be building an ambulance station and a fire station to help our people down in the Independence community. You know, Dr. Looney has to worry about safety and fire in a lot of these rural schools that we have.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that this is a home run for the schools because we rely so much on first responders to respond to events, and you know, just to go to a football game, you know, make sure that we have ambulance coverage there. But we have kids that have multiple types of medical conditions, and it's not that uncommon to see an ambulance or a fire truck at a schoolhouse because something's gone wrong with a student or a staff member. So that response time, Rogers, is critical. And I can just say from the school board to every employee in the district and I think family, hats off, we greatly appreciate it.
And Dave, the other thing I think goes hand in hand, you got to give credit to this community for stepping up and going straight to the plate on the SROs.
Absolutely.
SROs, help me out, stand for?
School resource officers.
Thanks. You know, about a year and a half ago.
That's right.
Touch on it.
Well, I'll be glad to speak to it. You know, after the tragedy up north, we actually hosted a statewide conference. Williamson County did, along with Franklin Special School District, on school safety. We hired a consultant to come in, and one of the big items, or one of the the shortcomings that we had is we did not have access to a school resource officer in every school, and that person, a school resource officer, is the first line of defense in a school building. Right. And so the county stepped up in a huge way, very, very quickly. They've supplied not only a school resource officer for every school in Williamson County, but also Franklin Special School District. And it's been a game changer for us. The relationships that we've built with law enfortement, kids learning to trust people in uniform.
Right.
It has added such a dynamic dimension to the way that we operate schools. I don't know. I honestly don't know how much it costs you, Rogers, but I don't think I think that is an invaluable cost. I think it's just been such an additional blessing to our school community to have those people there.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact monies that go with that, but there were 31, my memory serves me correct, 31 men and women went into our individual schools. There was a lot of discussion about, should we do that? Should we arm them? Should we not arm them? Should we provide weapons to principals? At the end of the day, the vote was, let's put professional men and women, have to go through training, they're certified in carrying firearms, that if some bad guy comes through the front door, we want somebody to take care of him before he gets to our children. Providing the person to the Franklin Special School District as well as the county school system was the right thing to do. It had never been done that you take county general funds to fund items over in the Franklin Special School District, and it's an ongoing cost, but it was the right thing to do to protect our children. And sometimes that's hard. We get things mixed up in dollars and cents, but on top of that, we had to provide vehicles for them, and we had to provide training, and we had to provide, oh, by the way, those men and women work the same school system time frame. So they're off a little bit in the summer, but at the end of the day, our students are better protected, and it is an expensive item, but they went away with it.
Our time's getting away, and I would like to speak to that, but I'm just going to wait for another opportunity.
We're trying to tie you up so you don't get to those hard questions.
If I was somebody that was going off my rocker and wanting to shoot people, I would definitely not go somewhere where I knew there was somebody that had a gun. So I'm glad that you have provided.
I didn't. The County Commissioners School Board, and there are plenty, Dave, there are plenty things other than just that man and woman there
Sure.
that are protecting locked, secure doors. There's just so many things that we probably don't need to discuss about, but they're part of security for the safety of all of our students. And it's inconvenient a lot of times for parents,
Yeah.
and we hear about it.
Yeah.
To come in the front door, they have to go through locked doors and sign in. And sometimes they like it, but most of the time they understand it.
Move on for a moment here to solid waste and our landfill. What is the pilot program that you've got going out there, Rogers?
Well, at the end of the day, solid waste is an important part and operation of Williamson County government. We have several hundred acres out on Pinewood Road that will satisfy our solid waste requirements for many years to come. There was a time 10, 15, 20 years ago, you just take your solid waste by the dump trucks, dig a hole, put a liner in it, bury it.
Right.
Well, there's new technology that's out there now, and so we're trying to develop this technology to make our landfill even more sustainable or longer living.
Right.
As controversial as schools are, if you try to buy additional land to put solid waste landfills, it is even a little bit more controversial. It ranks right up there with rock quarries, and nobody wants it in their community, but
Rock quarries and airports.
and airports, they're all in there together. But the landfill is an area that we're digging out, we're doing techniques, we're reburying it, using some new technology to help the biodegradable process, and the leachate, that's the product that drains off, and how we deal with that with all the solid waste. As the community grows, that's one of those things nobody likes to talk about. But it does. Your solid waste grows just like your people grow.
We won't talk about that anymore then. But
Thank you.
We know there's a whole team of our county employees
Well,
working
Judy
on that.
Hayes heads up the solid waste, and of course, she's not running for county commission. She's retiring, but we're going to miss her. But we're going to try to figure out a way to keep her on that board.
Great. Highway Department is one of the kind of the best kept secrets in this county, I think, because you never hear about them much or think about them. But in addition to the Old Natchez Trace, what is our Highway Department working on these days, Rogers?
Well, that's a big project. That's a couple of mile road that very historical, been cited as number 1 or number 2 oldest road. A lot of historical burial grounds, Indian ground area, sensitive, very sensitive area. And again, we're kind of hampered, it's really run by Eddie Hood, does an outstanding job with the 80 men out there all over our unincorporated area. And I want to put a plug in, Dave, that our county highway department is well run and well managed. And somehow we've got to deal with that at the state level, that counties can help and work in some of the cities, and cities can help and work in some of the counties. Because, as Betsy will tell you, we can't send our highway crew unless it's an emergency, I declare emergency, into the cities to help do road work.
Right.
And the states can't do it. I mean, it's just a mess. And you're looking for more roads, you're looking for more ways to get around. And our highway department, probably this morning, they're out cutting the sides of the roads with the bush hogs. I know they're resurfacing 2 roads. We're rebuilding 2 bridges. We use our own crews out on that to build bridges. And the schools depend on that to have good, safe roads all the time. And when we're during the winter months, Eddie and his guys, they're out there working all night long to get the salts on the road, but they're going to stop at the city limits. And that just doesn't compute with me. We could run those and build the cities, because the cities don't have highway, they have public works. They don't have the equipment we do.
Right.
So there's some things that need to be looked at the state level.
Appreciate all they do. Obviously, if we could build some more roads.
It'll look nice when it's finished.
It'd be great. One of the higher profile, I thought we were on a different slide here, but out in Nolensville, exciting times for the city of Nolensville and what the Parks and Rec Department is doing out there. In a nutshell, what is that?
I think this is the last city other than Thompson Station, and this is really, we need to thank the schools for allowing us to do this too. When the county commission approves funding for a school building,
Right.
facility, bricks and mortar, once it's lived its life, and Tommy, how old is that school out there? 40? 30 or 40 years old. And the school had outlived its usefulness for for a school.
Right.
And so the school gave it back to us,
Right.
which is what they should do, because taxpayers paid for it. But if the schools didn't want it, or if they wanted to use it for something else, they certainly could have. But they gave it to the county, and we turned this into a joint venture between the city of Nolensville. So now we have them in Brentwood, a couple of them in Brentwood, the indoor soccer, the indoor sports arena. Franklin's got one, Spring Hill, Fairview, several of our facilities, and we run a 50-50 partnership with all of our cities that if you'll help us build it, bricks and mortars, $5 million expense. They put in 2.5, we put in 2.5, and about September, October of this year, we'll have the converted school building over to a new Parks and Recreation facility for the Nolensville community with a pool.
That's exciting. And this our Parks and Rec under Doug Hood has done some amazing things. This is another Parks and Rec project, isn't it? The Academy Park.
The Academy Park is on the OBGA property that we purchased about 12 or 15 years ago. This is to replace the J.L. Clay Senior Citizens at the corner of Hillsborough Road and Bridge Street. This is about a year and a half off. It'll be 20,000 square feet to be used for seniors from 8 to 3 and other activities the rest of the day. We're calling it an enrichment center, which hits the gamut of youth, old, young and old, and not just specifically designed for our senior citizens. As you know, as you look at this picture, to the immediate right is the public library.
Right.
To the immediate left is New Renaissance High School, of which Dr. Looney and Brian Bass is working with the students out there to help develop the center court area of that. And in behind this will be a community theater. It's about 14,000 square feet, if I remember correctly, that we'll be putting on plays and working. There it is. And we're saving, that building was the old BGA library. And the second, it had also been used for a gymnasium 75, I don't know how many years ago. It's the second oldest gymnasium in the state of Tennessee. And so we're going to save that building and convert it. On the back left of that picture, as you can see, we're adding another 3,500 feet of a foyer space. And in the center courtyard where the United States flag is flying, that's an area we're being told that a lot of guys and girls proposed to each other, had their first kiss, held their first hand from the high schools, and so we want to save and preserve that area.
It's an important place.
And
I want to make sure that you understand we don't encourage that kind of behavior in our school system.
Oh,
you may
good.
not encourage it, but you're not going to stop it.
Right. Timberland Park, out on the Natchez Trace, Rogers.
This is
60 seconds.
60
A slide is
seconds,
what we
yeah,
have from
okay.
now on here.
Drive
so.
out New Highway 96 and get on the Natchez Trace, turn left, go down towards Natchez, Mississippi, but only go about 500 yards. That's the new Timberland Park that Judy Hayes, Nancy Conway were able to steal away from the federal government back in 1998, 99. It's 75 plus acres, walking trails, pavilions. Did I do 60 seconds? Free to the public. It's not open yet.
Absolutely.
Sheriff's Office, out of the 2010 flood, when we realized we didn't have the proper equipment through the efforts of the sheriff, he's just built up a wonderful fleet of automobiles, vans, and again, he gets a little criticism on this because we're developing a public sheriff's department with an arsenal, and that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of it is to provide our citizens with safe, reliable public safety during times of crisis. But at the same time, we do have situations where we have to, that third vehicle on the bottom, it's an armored vehicle, and not many rounds of ammo in this area are going to penetrate that vehicle, but we send our men and women out there. They can ride in a safe vehicle and go out to a site that needs to be addressed, and we have used that a couple of times in our community.
Glad that we've got the leadership we've got there as well. This is probably one of the higher profile projects going on in our county right now with Williamson Medical Center.
I would agree with you, Dave. Don Webb and the whole team, his executive team, have worked tirelessly over the last several years to work with expanding Williamson Medical Center, new operating room, expanded operating rooms, and a whole bunch of things that just needed to be done that we haven't done. But the highlight, what you're looking there, is creating an environment and a place for the Children's Hospital in Nashville. Many of us know as Moreau Carroll, and so it's the first time they've signed off on. We will actually have their name on the side of the building, and it'll help our citizens. It's not going to be the size. I think it's got 20 rooms. Is that right, Don? Yeah. And it's you know, if you're playing soccer, you're playing baseball, you've got some things that, you know, the pediatric emergency room that's going to be there, and but that's not to keep you from going to Nashville.
Right.
20 beds that just help at Nashville.
Yeah.
And we've got so many children. Over 20% of our population is children, as Dr. Looney can tell you, and so they need our facilities. And this is a home run, and it's something that the hat needs to go off to the entire staff over at Williamson Medical and to Vanderbilt for putting this together. I'm sure the schools will like this too.
I think we'll be frequent customers.
If your kid's bleeding, you don't want to have to drive to Nashville.
That's exactly right.
You want to.
But no tax dollars are involved in that.
That's strictly hospital funding.
They're responsible for funding it.
Great. Going to switch to schools now, Dr. Looney, and tell us about the new projects underway and what we can see.
We have a number of them. The slide that you're looking at is the theater for Centennial High School. It's coming along nicely. We've had some inclement weather, but we expect to have that open around Christmas time. That's going to be a game changer. That's the finished product that you're looking at, a model of it. And I don't know if you've been by there, but that's an impressive structure. And so we're having those. We're building one at Brentwood just the same. And so all of our schools will have a performing arts or a theater to have productions in and assemblies in. And so we're looking forward to that happening. And I just can't wait for the first event to take place there.
It's going to be a game changer for Centennial as a parent.
That happens to be a slide of what it's going to look like in the inside. And just so you know, we're not only just doing it at the high school levels. We've actually, thanks to our Board of Education and the County Commission support, something that our chairwoman, Pat Anderson, has been pressing me on quite a bit is, let's get these things done so we can have activities in those schools. The board strategic plan includes the arts as one of our goals, and so it's hard to be nationally recognized in the arts if you don't have a facility to perform in. So we're going to get there.
Well, and the thing that I didn't understand when this was first announced is what this will allow the other multipurpose room to be used for. The used to double for a theater and as well as place for the cheerleaders to practice and the wrestling team to practice. And
yeah, the rooms that they had been using are really an extra gym or a second gym, not very conducive to productions, to band performances or choir or theater. And so this is going to give them a great facility to perform in. It's not going to be as glamorous as the Franklin Theater, but we're certainly going to be very, very proud of it.
Great. What about Woodland Middle School?
This project actually is in its final phases. In fact, Kevin Fortney told me that he's meeting today to go through the final punch list. We started these projects with Hillsborough's Performing Arts Theater, And so we have utilized the same floor plan, the same architectural drawings for all of our schools. There's another one that's being built at Fairview, but Woodland is going to be the very next one that comes online. We're really excited about that. We're planning on actually having a ribbon cutting. We're going to be announcing the ribbon cutting here in the next couple of days for that facility, but just coming along very, very nicely.
Right. Beautiful facility. And then there's your,
The Fairview one is a little bit behind. We had some issues with accessing water, but we're finally making really good progress on that. That one will be finished, it says, in December as well. I'm particularly proud of Kevin Fortney. I don't know how he gets all those people in ship shape and in line, but he does it somehow.
right, good. Brentwood High School.
This is a unique project. It's actually the exact same model as the Centennial one. The facade looks a little bit different, primarily because we try to make it match the existing building as much as possible. The most challenging aspect of that one, obviously, is where could you put it? That's a very, very tight campus. So it's right next to the Campbell Center, and sort of in between the football field. But that one's coming along very well, very nicely as well, and that one will be open in January. And that's actually a picture of the old multi-purpose room, which had a rubber floor. It just wasn't conducive to doing a lot with, other than just mass assemblies. And so we're actually going to convert it to a gym, and it's going to end up being a very nice facility for use.
Lots of exciting things.
Well, once again, Nolensville is just exploding in growth, and so the board has authorized the staff and I to construct a K-8 facility similar to the Sunset model, although this is a brand new design. We're really proud of the design, and the good part about it is we're learning to use the taxpayers' dollars more wisely. Rather than having two separate lunchrooms, we have one lunchroom. We have, the library. It's one large library, but divided for elementary and middle school. So we're trying to make better use of the resources that we have. Really like this model a lot. I think the taxpayers will once it opens up. It's going to serve K-8 students in Nolensville for the next 50 years.
Wow. Now, where is this actually located?
It is off of York and Nolensville Road. Is that right, Kevin? Is it York? Off of York and Nolensville Road. They've actually started moving dirt, and so there's going to be a community, a neighborhood right in front of the facility, so you probably won't see it from Nolensville Road because you'll have housing there.
Right.
But it'll be right behind that community.
Is it going to be on the same site as the Nolensville High School?
Yes, that's another thing that we did. Instead of buying land here and there, we actually said, it makes more sense to use the same parking lots and same roadways and same football field rather than building two of everything.
Right.
And so we purchased one parcel of land. It's just under 100 acres. And so Mill Creek Elementary Middle School is going to be on the exact same property as Nolensville High School. And that design actually is the same design as Summit High School. We reutilized the footprint of the building. We made some small adjustments just because we're trying to, once again, find better ways to use the space. That will open in the fall of 2016. There's the road work, it looks like, from Nolensville Road. Actually, that's from York Road coming in. So you're going to start seeing a lot of dirt moving and some concrete being poured in the very near future.
We're one of my friends that knew I was going to be doing this show wanted to know where you see the next new high school being needed in this county.
Well, in our 5-year plan, it's in the northwestern section of the county. So I would say in the Grassland-ish Sneed Road community.
Right.
If you look at Brentwood High School and Franklin High School and now Centennial High School, those are very quick. In fact, Franklin and Brentwood are over capacity already. Centennial is at capacity. And so you're going to see a need for us to provide some relief there. So I would say in the Sneed Road-ish area. Of course, now land prices just went way up. But we're also going to be looking, quite frankly, at either a K-8 facility or at least an elementary facility in the Brentwood area. All of our Brentwood elementary schools are either at capacity or exceeding capacity. We're going to need to move some portables into Scales. We have portables at Lipscomb. And so, once again, as more families move in, we're gonna have to build facilities to accommodate them. And I will say this: it is an expensive venture. We spend about $150 a square foot these days on school construction, which is not cheap, but it's also not very lavish.
Right.
But I will tell you, from my perspective, it really is an investment. You can't grow a community without investing in the infrastructure, the roadways, the parks and rec, and the school buildings that come with it. And if you look at, I spent some time in the business world, so I believe in looking at ROI, return on investment. And so we just recently published some data. Our students, our graduating class last year was offered $123 million in scholarships. Now, if you think about that senior class last year, we spent about $8,400 a student educating them. Well, they were offered about $53,000 in scholarship money. So even if you take their 4 years of high school experience, we're still getting more scholarship dollars offered to them than we invested in them to begin with. So I think that speaks volumes to the school board's leadership under Pat Anderson. It speaks volumes to the quality of educators that we have. And let's be frank, we've got some awesome students and families that we're blessed to work with.
Well, I just want to thank you two gentlemen. I think if you look at any organization, from an elementary school up to a school system to a county government, any organization that has good leadership is going to produce good results. But if you don't have good leadership, I don't care whether it's a single school or a school system or a county government or a county road department or anything, I'm editorializing here, but leadership is so important, and we appreciate what you gentlemen do for our county, and just want to support that any way we can, as a chamber and as individuals, I hope, as well.
Let me touch on that, Dave, if I could, and I appreciate the nice words, but it really goes back to our county commission and school board and all the elected officials that we've got. We're going to disagree. You've heard me say that. We're going to have issues, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what the vote tells us to do, and so far is to move this county in an upward and forward position. Now, we're charged with keeping taxes low. That's a lot of construction. That's a lot of, except for those last question, the curveball you threw in, where you're going to put another school system. High schools cost approximately $80 million apiece. Pretty close.
When it's all said and done, yes, sir.
With a K-8 on it. With a K-8 on it. High school, freestanding high schools, $50 million. Middle schools are 35, and elementaries are 25 to 30. That's before you put the key in it to turn it, to open the door, because it takes $1.6 million to provide the day-to-day operations that go into school in an elementary, and more for middle and more for high.
Right.
Rogers, we need to talk about that number. You're still using 1980 numbers. I'm just kidding.
Is that way too low?
I'm just messing with you.
Anyway.
We're not leaving much time for questions.
But I do want to stress that all of this is being done, Dave, through a working with our cities. I got to throw that in. Except for one city, most tap fees, adequate school facility backfill. Brentwood helped us significantly on Ravenwood. There were millions of dollars they put in roads and sewers and water that some of the other cities do too. So all of that goes into making a well-balanced, well-run school system and county, and people are going to move here when you do that.
Well,
And it's important to economic development too.
to our audience, if you ever need a herd of cats herded, this gentleman to my left is one of the best I've ever seen. So he can take a diverse group of interest and get them to come to a consensus as well as anybody, and we appreciate that. Got just a few minutes now for questions, and hope that some of our audience members will be brave and step up quickly. We've got about 5 minutes, and you know, I'd hate to have to call on you, but we can do that as well. Any questions from our audience this morning? Step up and tell us your name, where you live, and
I'm Matt McGowan, and I live in Nolensville, so I definitely appreciate what you all are doing out there with the growth. And I just had a quick question about that. But again, I want to say thank you to all you individuals up that are running our government. We really appreciate everything you're doing, and we're excited about the growth out there. But question I had was, you know, obviously I think transportation is a big issue for us all, and I know they're working on Sam Donald Road right now, trying to, I don't know if they're going to completely resurface that or not, but they're doing, you know, some work there. But I just wanted to ask you all about, you know, the transportation and obviously addressing that issue countywide for us and being able to move us around to our jobs and to the various social things that we do. Thank you.
You want to try it first?
No, sir, I do school. I don't do transportation routes.
Well, he does do school buses, Dave. Transportation issues are a major issue in our community. I don't think I have to highlight that enough. We're doing what we can in the county side, but the cities are and cities and counties are restricted in working together in a lot of the projects they need to work together on. And some of that is by state law. For an example, if you live in the unincorporated area of Williamson County, we have a road tax, and it's a nickel. We tax the people in the unincorporated area. We are not allowed to, by state law, we are not allowed to spend those tax dollars inside the city limits. So I happen to live in the county personally. My tax dollars cannot go to find solutions in Brentwood and Franklin by state law. They called, if you'll remember the old Boston Tea Party in the history lessons, that kind of defeats a lot of our purpose. So you've got 3 minutes, Dave.
thank you.
So how do we find solutions to this? Well, the commission, and this year in our revenue stream, we're allocating some money to help set at the table through the county general funds. It's the first time that we've ever tried to do this. But constantly, the 24 county commissioners and myself are hearing, how can we better work together? If it's McCatcher, Nolensville Road areas, if it's inside that city limits, the way it works right now, Brentwood has to deal with theirs, Franklin has to deal with theirs, Nolensville has to deal with theirs, and that's not the best solution. But the counties aren't allowed to be in there, so we're going to take...
What would you suggest needs to be changed?
Well, that's going to have to come out of the state.
Okay.
I think the leadership in all of our cities would be able to sit down and work together. But just because a county road and a city road is inside those jurisdictions doesn't say that county folks don't drive in cities and cities don't drive in the county.
Right.
And the state builds so many of these state roads, but they're restricted on the dollars and cents. So all of us are going to sit down at the table and find solutions for these. And to the gentleman that asked the question, we are looking at some of those areas out there. How are we going to best address them? But if they're inside the city limits of Nolensville, there's nothing I can do today.
Okay. Now, I know the county at one time built Linwood Way, the road that connects Moore's Lane over to the Berry's Chapel area. Are there any other big projects like that on the
Well,
horizon?
they showed one of Natchez, that one, but no new roads are the unincorporated area at this time. We are looking at Arno Road, we're looking at Sneed Roads. Those are county roads, trying to address those roads, millions of dollars worth of cost to get those roads widened, Dave.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being with us this morning. Appreciate the audience for being here. Again, we are excited to talk about the live streaming on WCV.net, and hope that you all will spread the word to your neighbors. Look forward to being back here on the 4th Monday of August, and look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much.
Good job, Dave.
Y'all did a great job. Thank you.
Good job. We can talk about anything, can't we?
Yeah.
We can talk about anything.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to steal the show, but I wanted to get some things.